Anybody else would like to speak?
A little bit hard for me to speak when I had a cancer a few years ago. It was awful. It was a little bit hard to be understood when it hadn't really something to speaking yet anyway. So, what happened the other night when on the internet, like many of us are, and it was an early morning hour, and I was sent a short video of 1969. And the video talks about an individual who actually died in an accident in 1959, who had written a book in 1968. That man was on the name of Andy Johnson, an African American man, and he wrote a book all these years ago, 52 years, and it talks about how working, how people they hold such cultural today, and what being outside forces internationally, I thought fascinating. But, I mean, you don't have to believe me, and I can only go on and speak on it forever. But here's the book I wrote. It's called Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manny Tuck. And you can go online and you can download it for free and read it all for yourself. It is fascinating because this man, all these years ago, if you think Dr. Banner was good for being a future left this guy actually incredible about keeping us in a long now. 15 years ago, and I can see how it's happening now. And about the only thing I have to say is, all these rights, all the time, he does have my owners, internationally and nationally, for the things that can help them and unite us. I mean, talk about wisdom, and we're being reminded of purpose, and giving them a purpose, for their own good, for what they want, and not for the good for us. Okay?
Anybody else like to speak up?
I'm Kathleen Alonso. I think everyone knows who I am. So first I wanted to say thank you to the chief and deputy chief. You guys have made an enormous attempt to try to build that gap and have that ongoing communication with us and addressing our concerns. With that, I feel like that is my biggest frustration as far as the county and city level. There are issues that we deal with and I feel like aren't being acknowledged as a whole or publicly. With that, I wanted to share a few stories in regards to discrimination. I worked out at the high school at the Para USD at USD Purdy. I worked with a lot of refugee immigrants, students who were newcomers who had been here less than a year. So with that, a lot of that, they had to do court, immigration court processes, pay attorney fees. So a lot of them did have to work. These kids would work jobs in many businesses you guys go out to eat at, and they would cook your food, they would wash your dishes, and they would sometimes not get paid. So as an undocumented immigrant, who do you go to when you're in a stance where you don't have papers, you really don't have a voice? And I know a lot of people who are undocumented wanted to be here, but they don't come because of that fear. They don't have a voice. And so with that, I kind of just want some acknowledgement on the city level to, I guess, kind of ease that. I know we have the representation for the immigrant community. So I do want to ask, and this is directly to the city, I want to know what steps you guys will take, to, I guess, help the concern of the immigrants in the community. So I don't know if you guys are allowed to answer questions.
Absolutely.
We really can't say anything on behalf of the city, we can say things individually. But, you know, if you're asking for the city, we have to get authority. So we would have to have discussions. I would say that it would be ideal if we would like to suggest, we actually have to do that authority.
The reason I asked, the chief has, and the, Brian, he has made an attempt to sit down with us and meet with us weekly. And so I'm very appreciative of that because they're very new to our community. And so they haven't been here and they have made, an aggressive attempt to, I guess, address the concerns. So with that, you know, I mean, do we have to go to your office? Do you have to, like?
Well, I think some of that might be understanding actually what the job of the city commission actually is.
Right.
A lot of the day, we have a city manager who pretty much runs the day-to-day stuff, and we let these people do their jobs. In reality, we make budget decisions and policy decisions, so, we allow these people to bring us their ideas, and we don't actually, have offices down at the city, and I think Comcast spends more time than we do at the city and work hard for the city. But, I think sometimes understanding what we actually do and what we have control of, and that might be helpful in discussions too, is because I've had people come to the meetings and I don't want to say blamed us for things or suggested that we should have done things for things that we don't even control. So I think there's a gap there too as far as understanding of how financial is a lot of our decisions. So
We have a dialogue. We've had this here. And people will not want to dwell into the real issue, an avenue whereby you and anyone else in this community, where you feel that you're being discriminated against, or you see discrimination being carried out. Until we have that, we're going to continue to have decisions. So I'm in this town. They really want. But they have to have the way that we do it. I've said this to you. The Hispanic community in our town is to get people like you to serve in positions. And we have this for 30 years. Well, that's putting people in positions, not only in the city, the county, in the school, or wherever people of authority lie in this.
If I could, I'll address the Kathleen issue. And I know that the mayor responds, and he can probably.
They're just around and people that sit on our commission, rent homes, rent apartments, and they rent differently to a person that is against that. And so just like this young lady said, where is the avenue for these people to go to get the assistance because they are undocumented? Because that is breaking laws that are in this country. And that we do vote all of you into offices. We do place you as a chief of our police. We do vote for our government. And those laws are enacted. They are here already. So what avenue does this?
We race that, this guy, hey, okay, well, which law, so that we can work through a group, a number. I don't know, I honestly don't have the answer on it, because they will tell her, hey, I work with about illegals.
Not a problem, but fix it. You're the one in power. You're the one that has the power to help, and you're Johnson. I've been in Redwood for several years. And I've been having this same type of.
I think the mic's been turned on.
And I remember having this conversation, this type of conversation, years ago, 40 years. I'll tell you the problem. You have a spokesman, you go before the city official or the county official. Have one spokesman. Everybody can't talk at the same time. But you got to have a spokesman that is school, elementary, junior high, start high school. So what I'm saying, years ago, Chief Morrison, who you knew personally, you knew the city mayor and the manager, you knew him personally. And we got along with it. Your concern have to be, you have to start your own coalition. Nobody's gonna come do your work for you. We found that. You have to start your own coalition to address your concern. But you have to be disciplined enough to have one person. Everybody go there screaming and talking, not doing anything. But if you have one spokesman who will voice your concern when you go for the city, believe in you. When I get up on Sunday morning, I'm a pastor, and I have to preach that life after death. My grandkids will ask me, Paul, is there life after birth? I don't care what color you are, or where you live, you have racial bias. And until you admit to yourself, you can make a change.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeanette Vasquez. I grew up in Lovely, a documented community. I know it can be a very controversial subject, but we are here to speak on their behalf because there are many people in our community that are undocumented, and they are going through a lot of depression. They are scared. They need our help, but they're not going to come in and speak to a whole group of people because they are afraid. We talked about the sense of belonging. I can tell you that our undocumented community does not feel a sense of belonging whatsoever, especially right now. Starting with simple things such as using the words illegal aliens, illegal immigrants. Last time I spoke, I gave numerous examples. I've shared my story numerous times, but I always get told that's not enough. Emotions are not enough. Your story and your pain is not enough. We need facts. So I have the facts. I have the facts to present to you, but that's not going to stop me from sharing my story and also sharing stories of many families affected that are being separated every day by mass deportations. The very first thing I want to let you guys know is that people do not come here undocumented because they want to. They came this way because it was ready. Your parents would have to be U.S. citizens, or you would have to have your brother or sister petition, but as a man to be able to come here legally. Next, the majority of our immigrants come from Mexico. Mexico does not qualify for political asylum. Now, there are some countries that do qualify for political asylum, but you have to have a lot of evidence. And in a lot of these countries, the criminal departments are rigged, and so it would be impossible to be able to share that your life is in jeopardy. So to create a sense of belonging, the very first thing I would ask you guys is to not use the terms illegal aliens. And if you guys want the facts, the AB Sabbath made changes in how we describe people living in the country undocumented. So the Sabbath no longer uses the term illegal alien or immigrant in use of an illegal to describe a person. Instead, it tells users that illegal should describe only an action, such as living or immigrating to a country illegally. So you should not use the terms illegal alien, illegal immigrants, or the illegals. That is very disheartening. It's very hurtful. I can tell you there was one point in my life where I was undocumented, and hearing people call that hurts. And I don't want to get emotional because I've been told that my emotions and my pain is not going to help fix the system, so I won't even go down that path. There's a lot of also misconceptions that immigrants don't pay taxes. So I compiled an analysis. Undocumented workers pay a total of $11.7 billion in state and local taxes. So I would ask you to please stop saying that undocumented immigrants don't contribute, because in my opinion, $11 billion is a lot of money. They also roughly pay $7 billion in sales taxes and excise taxes. So that would be items such as like gas sales or vehicle registrations. So undocumented immigrants, like everyone else, pay for highway repairs, they pay for state courts, They also pay funding for police, for firefighters. On top of that, they also paid $1.1 billion in state income taxes and $3.6 billion in property taxes as of the last report. So from this is money that funds public schools. This is where we get our disposal and other city services. But on top of that, undocumented immigrants also pay federal taxes. And they pay a lot more federal taxes than what a lot of us do. So they actually pay taxes either through the username that they're working at their employer, or they pay taxes with something called an ITIN, which is the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. Undocumented immigrants contributed $13 billion into Social Security funds and $3 billion to Medicare. So that's a lot of money that undocumented immigrants. On top of that, our schools districts get federal and tax money for every student that is enrolled in school. It doesn't matter whether the student is documented or not, our schools are making money off every single student regardless of their status. Now the downside, undocumented immigrants are not eligible for federal public benefit programs. So when people say that undocumented immigrants are using up our federal resources, such as food stamps, Medicaid, supplemental security income, temporary assistance for needy families, that is false. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident to be able to qualify for those things. How does immigration or the influx of immigrants in our community help us here in Southwest Kansas? Well, I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but there was actually a study done by Wichita State University. And so during this study, they showed that the rural communities are projected to have population declines during the next 50 years. So basically what's happening is a lot of citizens from rural areas are moving to metropolitan areas such as Wichita or Kansas City. But Seward County is actually pretty steady, and we're not projected to decrease. And that is actually thanks to the influx of immigrants. And so I do ask you to create a sense of belonging, stop spreading misinformation, things that are not true. These are the facts, I have the evidence to prove it, and so please just don't spread any information that is not accurate.
So yeah, there's a few others. We have a couple others here. Before that, if I could chime in to sort of bring a pause for a moment. And I'm going to challenge Cal. I'm leaving in 3 weeks, so you're never going to find me. But I started off in all seriousness. This is a serious topic, but it's also about being real. And my challenge to you is try. Try to have the conversation. Try to explore the opportunity that's in front of us. Nobody's asking you to come up with the perfect solution. So try.
So I wanted to steer back. There were like 3 different questions in there, and I don't feel like we got a resolution. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name, but I don't want to sound disrespectful. Elizabeth? I'll call you Jamie. Elizabeth? I'll call you Jamie. Okay. So Elizabeth's question was, concern frustration as to what's going to be done for people who are working who are not being paid. Something that first needs to be established is there's a difference between the criminal legal element and the civil legal element. So is that better?
Yes.
Are we on screen? So if I'm screen, let me know. In situations like that, you're looking at a civil element, which is not something that by law we're allowed to enforce. That being said, that does not mean that we cannot, if we're not willing to attempt to steer somebody who's in that situation towards resources to help them. The same tone can be taken towards somebody who's suffering from sexual harassment. That in and of itself is not necessarily illegal. However, criminal. That does not mean that we can't help or we're not willing to help somebody to steer. So Chief Cutshaw, I believe I can speak for him in this manner. We both have open door policies, and we actually meet and encourage everyone to come and see us. To try to steer you or somebody that you know, because I would guarantee that 75% of the documentation and need help to be able to get off the streets and into a shelter. That's not in my purview. I'm a criminal cop. Sorry about you. What we did though is we took it upon ourselves to get him adequate lodging for the night that we were informed that he needed a place to stay, and then worked to make arrangements to get him his birth certificate at an officer's personal expense in order for him to be able to get his driver's license. So that part of our mission is sustainable, and is what we're wanting to do. Like I said, it's not what we're mandated to do, but our community members need our help. So if they want to come and speak with me or Chief Cutshall, members available, we'll be more than happy to try to route them where they need to go. Unless if it's a criminal, if it's a life-threatening emergency, always dial 911. Otherwise, make an appointment to come see, especially me, because I've got a good office availability, and Chief Cutshall as well, to see if we can direct you to the resources that we need. So I hope that kind of shed some light on, because I kind of felt like that was nebulous in the answer. I know it's not an immediate fix, but it is something to show that we're dedicated, because law enforcement, we've changed our role in the past even 10 to 15 years. We're no longer operating under a warrior mentality. We're operating under a guardianship. So what that is that we are not there to be antagonistic towards our community, but instead it's to help in any way we can. So if somebody is needing assistance, we'll do what we can. If you don't like the answer, well, we'll try to point you in a direction. Okay? Kathleen is brought up, so I've heard before I even landed in the state because of her work with Chief Cutshall. And not in a negative thing, too. Some people may interpret it as such, but she's bringing issues to our attention that I personally wasn't aware of. And so we've been able to facilitate appointing of resources or officer attention or administration attention that way as well. Jeanette, I gotta give you an air high five because her information is also accurate. As part of my PhD candidacy, I've done deep research on immigrants, and I hate saying that because media comes across as a Florida, but you are as an act. Criminal rates in immigrant communities as opposed to Native communities. And that's simply not true. Study after study has shown that. Our department has taken an about face from years and years ago of the mentality of immigrants cause crime. So we need to engage with them rather anecdotally and not to cope them with whatever situation they're in. So, like I've said before, Chief Cutshall has instituted a major change in how we operate, and we want to be facilitators for our community as best we can. So we ask and really encourage everyone, if you have an issue you want to speak with us, please do. We'll do everything we can to direct that attention.
I think just circling back to the word, I think that's sort of emerged to one of belonging, to one of understanding. And the best advice I ever got, way back in the day, was we can complicate things as much as we want to complicate things. We can simplify things as much as we want to simplify things. And so think about that in its simplest form. You know, if we want to make it difficult, we can. If we want to steer a member of our community in the right direction, we can steer a member of our community in the right direction. And empower them to follow a path that may lead to additional empowerment, additional opportunity. But that goes back to just, it's simple, they're reductive potentially, but it's about belonging. It's about caring for each other each and every day. So with that, I'll see if there's any, and then other comments.
Let me just say to the police department, because if other institutions within our community will adopt that same kind of attitude, where people with problems come to you and instead of looking in a negative sense, we figure out a way to help solve those problems. We get what you're talking about, particularly when people have concerns about being wronged or illegal or illegal or whatever it was. How can we help them? That makes a difference. And I really wish that we had more heads of businesses and institutions here at this meeting to hear this dialogue. Because these kinds of things are occurring in our community that perhaps...
Going off of Ivan's point too, at the college, and I believe when Jeanette was there, I know Rachel, I'm unfortunately going to put you on the spot because Rachel is one of our sharpest leaders and she's leading a team on our campus. She's done that for about 3 years now. We have a concept called mover teams, and the concept is really focused on moving the organization forward around key opportunities to grow and to ultimately create a stronger sense of belonging for our students and for our stakeholders. But the mover team that Rachel leads is Inclusivity and Civility, and I believe it's probably one of our more popular teams on campus. And they organize dialogue, they organize events and opportunities for our campus community, and certainly our extended community, to really engage in good conversation around how do we create a stronger culture of inclusivity and civility amongst ourselves as members of the campus team. So what I will do, since I'm sort of still in charge, John, with my bosses till September 18th, is I would invite anyone, and maybe this is the platform, we have a framework, we have an ongoing dialogue already that's happening, and changes are happening. But anybody in this room, we need to have this conversation within a framework of change, within a framework of transformation. That is a wonderful team to join. And I don't know how we do this, but it's an open invitation, and it could be one of those things where you give me your name, and I get you on a list where you're going to get an invitation to the next meeting. And what you'll find is you'll be potentially amongst a student or two, members of our campus team, Rachel, and you'll be able to be part of a dialogue that may be able to extend beyond what we're doing on our campus, because we are the community's college, and the college is our community. So think about that, and what belonging. This is about coming together as a community. So I challenge us to challenge one another, and look at each other as true community members, as partners, as friends. Because none of us have all the answers, but together we have a really good answer, a really good opportunity to make change. So something to think about. And with that being said, let's see what other comments, perspectives, stories, and yes, we have a gentleman in the back, so Hal, if you wouldn't mind, and you have a mic. Thank you. Turn the mic. Don't drop the mic. There we go.
I feel that as a community, we need to address our high school and middle school mascots. Considering even the national team has decided that the name is too racist, we can't just keep it. It's unacceptable. We need to, at the very least, change the names from what they are. We need to change Apache and Redskin, at the very least, to something that's based off of choices you make in your life. Like, I've heard the argument that we are honoring their culture, but when many in the Native American community, and I'm not talking about people who claim Native American ancestry, but are really a tiny percentage of this or that. But I'm talking about like the actual living, breathing Native American. We can't use that as a weapon to take away their voice. If we continue the way we're going, we send a very negative message to the rest of the world about what our community is like and the values that we hold as a community. I need to consider it to help us with that. I presented a presentation to them recently, and so I hope that I can get people to think about it and to open their minds and hearts to possibly changing it to something that either represents cultural choices, like being hunters, or something to that effect, or even better, something completely different, like a normal high school team should be. My name is Preston Wisnat. I'm a paraprofessional at Meadow Lark Elementary School.
Turn the camera on yourself.
I'm gonna charge miles. Oh, I don't get miles.
When we listen to some of these concerns, I think one part of the federal system also. So we think that someone else has got to solve this thing. Every law that has come along started as a local issue somewhere, and it grew and was taken up to the federal level. I think one of the best things that we could do, because I don't think the people in other parts of the country understand the challenges like we do. No one's gonna know better than how this affects people than we do in Liberal, Gordon, Dodge. And I think we have the best opportunity to create solutions to this federal issue. That we can sit down and not think of ourselves so small or just liberal, but how do we, if immigration policy is the problem, why can't we come up with some alternatives? I know with Ernie Schaefer, if some of you remember Ernie, I worked with Ernie, we put together a plan. I've sent it off to 2 different presidents, 2 senators, and a representative. Got 0 response. And it would make people who are here undocumented legal tomorrow. But we also have to address some of the other issues. It's got to address all of this. Yeah, everyone wants to talk about comprehensive reform. No one wants to do anything about it. No one wants to present anything. So I think we're the best people to address this. Come up with a plan that moves from here and moves up and get some traction. If we can get our whole community behind a plan to solve this issue. If you rewrite the law, rewrite it. But we have to not think that just because it's a federal issue, then we're just helpless. We're not. We can also make proposals to the feds as well. And I would just like to see us work on a direction that if this is a federal issue, then let's address it at the federal level. Let's start it here.
I'm Janelle Martinez. I'm a freshman at Seward. And last year I started the group ESU last year at the high school. And they wanted me to give these stories of racism in school, and some of them are out. They come from Mexican students and Black students. The first story is my sophomore year, I was doing sports lit. Around the time we were talking about the Kaepernick situation, people were disrespected, and that was from anonymous students. All of them don't want to be named right now. I'm in 5th grade, and when my teacher used me as an example, we were talking about slavery. We were getting a lecture, and she did write the N-word with the hard R on there, and me and someone else asked her to take it off, and she said no. I was at work last year. A white man had asked me why I was helping him because I was Black. He kept asking me, why is it everywhere I go, Black people are always helping me. Another student had said, a dude walked up to me and called me the N-word and asked if I was African. Another student had said, I felt like a criminal at school. I never did anything, never even went to detention, and I was being followed by teachers and by police. Our principal telling us we can't wear our head clothing because it looks and seems gang related when it's really a part of our culture. And it goes to hair bonnets, head wraps, and it's really big in our African culture. When my teacher described me and my sister as those girls with the weave in their hair instead of with fire names. There was one teacher who had told him to stop making beats on the table, and as she proceeds to walk away, him and a couple others heard her say, ugh, Black people. As a 4th grader, I was called an illegal alien from a teacher and was being bullied by her for the rest of the year. I was in junior high, people would always joke like, oh, your dad's still at the store? Go back to Mexico. Me, a 7-year-old, was yelled at by a grown man while walking freshman in high school, or freshman in college, sophomores in college, and all the way down to freshmen. All these students were students here in Liberal, and that was going on in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. But these students have been growing up, and we've all experienced these types of things. So as a community, why are our kids, me as a community, my little sister in 8th grader, why are we growing up listening to words like that? Why are we being bullied by older people? Why did I have to grow up in, I wouldn't say this community is a racist community, why did I have to grow up listening to those words from teachers, from other students? And why has no one ever tried to step up and say anything about it? And I'm here backing up the students, not just Black students, not just Mexican students, not just Asian, white. I'm backing up students in general. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I know if I volunteer, you're holding $20 in the morning class.
Hi, my name is Megan McElroy. So I want to start with my first experience of racism. I was in 6th grade, and I believe this And I remember going up to my teacher and saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. As an 11-year-old, she threw me away and said, everything's fine, don't worry about it. In college, I hate they're born in liberal. They're called horrific animals, and they're not. I love Hispanic families. I love Hispanic community. My mother-in-law the resident thinks that just because she's a Hispanic woman, that she doesn't know anything. And she's told me this herself. And I'm just, because a lot of times whenever we're racist, we don't even know it. We say things and we don't know it. But the thing is that's not wrong, but you know what is right is changing. There is nothing wrong. People who are racist, that's not okay, but you know what? It is perfectly okay to change. It is perfectly okay to grow. Because growth and changing is one of the most important things. And it's one of the most hardest things to do too. But that's what makes you a good person, is growth and helping you realize that, hey, this isn't right. I need to change the person. And that's whenever change starts. It starts with you.
Seriously, do we have, I've only been here, like I said, a little over 2 years, over 2 years. Do we have a safe spot here in Liberal? You know what a safe spot is? Police officers, you know what a safe spot is? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, does the community know that we have a safe spot? I hear the fear of our Hispanic population, our brothers and sisters. And so I'm from Atlanta, and Quick Trip was a safe place for children, for teenagers, for women in abusive relationships who needed to run away and get some help. And it sounds like some of these kids and families need to run away and get some help. So if we don't have some, I'm sure we can designate some so that the community can know where is a safe place for them to go and to have an English line and Hispanic line, because the sex trafficking and domestic violence is up, by the way, since we've been in pandemic mode. The second thing is the food insecurities. Of course, you know we run a food bank. And one of the things I met with a missionary, and his name, I'm not going to give his name, but people are literally gone hungry because they are afraid to come ask for food, because they are afraid somebody's going to ask for their ID or where they come from. Nobody should have to go through that. Nobody. And so I even have taken somebody to the church and they have filled up 5 bags of food to take to families because they are afraid to come ask for food. That should not be. And I think it's not that Liberal doesn't have a heart, because I know that we do, except with me. I just think that we have to find ways to communicate better and not make assumptions that people know something. A coalition, a Hispanic coalition here that can address some of these concerns in Liberal. Does the community here know that?
Yeah.
I've seen it make anybody feel bad, but we're moving in the right direction. So those are things that, you know, I would like to. My mother went through all kinds of abusive relationships. I would like that we can have some safe spots for our, not only just our Spanish community, our Spanish families, but black and white. Everybody needs to know where these places is. Somebody can go and feel safe. Thank you.
My name is Micah Howery. I am a teacher at the high school. I started here last year, and I was really excited to get to Liberal, even though it was under, well, duress is the wrong word. It was a stressful move to come down here. But, you know, I've grown up in what we call white bread America. You know, I've only ever known, except when I was very small, I lived in Birmingham, Alabama. It was in an integrated school. And so, you know, I was exposed then, but the rest of the time, I haven't been around other cultures, which I have been very upset about, because I love cultures. I've traveled all over the world, and every time I go to a new place, I'm always asking people questions about their culture and their language, and you know, I do the same thing with my students. And I'm not trying to downplay some of the comments that have been made about things that go on in the schools, because I know that I see a very small percentage of the student body. But I want to suggest to the community leaders and to the panel and everyone, there's a lot of ingenuity in the high school, students. I'm a debate coach, so we spend a lot of time in class arguing about stuff. And so because the majority of my class was Latino, we spent a lot of time talking about immigration and culture differences and racism. This year's topic is criminal justice reform. So you can imagine there's going to be a lot of racial discussion going on in class, having to do with that. And their ideas are tremendous, and their capacity for empathy and compassion for people that are different than them surprises me. I'm a Gen X, I can't remember. I don't even know. But I grew up in the I don't see color era. You guys familiar with that phrase? That was the phrase when I was in school, and I thought we were, we had names. Then I started listening to some other people, and they're saying, no, I see your color, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you're different than me, and I want to learn from you for my own benefit. And the last thing I want to say is, if you want to end those type of comments, if you want to end the experiences, you have to have positive exposure to people that are different than you. Not exposure by itself, positive exposure. That is a scientifically proven way to eliminate racism in individuals. And honestly, racism is just a lack of compassion with a skin color difference. I can hate on another white person, and it's just as bad as racism, because I'm still hating that person. I'm not seeing them as a human. I'm not valuing them as I'm a former minister, so you're going to hear a lot of that, especially if you said you're at the university. Having intentionally interracial gatherings and exposures, and then encouraging people to do that. Like I like to invite people over for dinner, and my favorite thing is to get people of different races and cultures and languages to come over, because I got questions, So that's my encouragement. Look to your teenagers. They're obnoxious, I get it. I teach them all day long, but they got a lot of great ideas, and trying to work in exposure to one another.
Okay. I'm not going to say he's got long feet, but he's got to sit there and get
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Malcher. I'm 90s from Nicaragua. We're 94, so I was born a citizen. Lived there for 2 years. We came over to Liberal, Kansas. We've been here for 8 years. Went back to Florida. There for another 10 years. I finished high school there, did a year of college. And although I've seen so many people come in and out of this city, they still moved here because this place it treated me so well. I couldn't have imagined a better childhood. Grew up, went to McKinley Elementary, which is, we still use that facility now. Again, I'd like to say also that my opinions, my beliefs, that I'm sure with you today do not represent an entity or organization that I represent. And you'll find out, I guess, later. I'll be as transparent as possible about it. So I came back here in 2013. Father handed me a used Honda Civic, $1,700. I believe in you, go do it. And thankfully, I already had family here that had immigrated from Nicaragua when we were living here when I was a kid. My aunt, there was a restaurant here. Another aunt of mine owned a Royal Prestige office where they sell incredible appliances for people, high quality stuff. EMT class that I never went and finished and tested, and spent a lot of money on dumb stuff I shouldn't have. And yeah, that's on me. Got an incredible job. Also at the high school as a paraprofessional. I was an ESL parent, so I worked very closely, as close as you could, with the immigrant students that were coming over here, trying as hard as they could to learn the English language. And I saw their difficulties. Over those first 2 years that I worked at the high school, my cousin's girlfriend at the time, one day after school, was like, hey, There's a student here that, you know, his big brothers, they were staying with him at a hotel. They were just staying in a hotel each day, and they're gone. He decided he wanted to stay. He likes it here. He doesn't want to leave. He's going to fight and try to make it. Okay? Well, I was renting an apartment at West Canada at the time. And you can come with me. You can stay with me. We'll figure things out. Met this guy. We cooked together. We played music together. And took him to school every day. And after school, we went home. And so finally, he got some more help from other family members and relatives he had nearby. Student. Also that I had grown close to as I worked with him. I believe this is already after I had left Liberal High School and began my career for the city of Liberal as a firefighter, and I was so blessed to receive that opportunity to serve my community. I drove him and his father all the way to Kansas City and translated for him in an immigration interview pretty much. And he presented his case for his asylum. I believe is what he was coming. He was a student from Guatemala. And so he explained his story there about how he fled from his country because in his neighborhood they terrorized him. You know, there were gangs and thugs, and you know, and I believe him. Yeah, I totally understand it. There's so many reasons why my parents decided to move from Nicaragua. What they wanted a better life for me. And I'll do whatever I can to help anyone else also achieve that same life. Persephone, you gave such an incredible story of, yeah, you and all of us, we're there, we're right with you. We've met some terrible people, very crappy people wherever we go. The deputy chief talked about no crimes will ever be committed. We'll never get there. And that's how we as a community can do the best that we can together, work together, to see where each other has need and step up. You know, on July 28th, there was just so many things that came out of nowhere. I won't say out of nowhere, that commissioned me, but a lot of concerns about the police officers working with ICE, and I completely understood how I think they can help with a peaceful transition. I think it's much better for individuals that are already out in the community, that are introducing themselves to the Hispanic community, that are trying to make good relationships, to be the ones to knock on the door and be like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, we're here, we're assisting these people, we're here to talk to this individual. Look, we have 4, I believe, people that were being targeted by ICE when they came, and I saw the GoFundMes. Let us as a community help those people. Let us as a community start the GoFundMes. If we as a community say, yeah, I got a couple bucks to spare to help with court fees, let's do it. That's fine. We want everyone here to have the same, you know, economical and financial and family and just the pursuit of happiness. This is what it's all about, right? That's what makes this country so great. This country, more than any other country, accepts more immigrants. By 1980s already, more black people had already come to this country than had been brought over as slaves. Surely they did it because they believed in the American dream that they had been hearing across the sea that this was the place to be. Yeah, we had a rocky start as a country at this point now where things are going to get super. We'll try to corner the commission and say, figure out what you can do for us. And if you don't figure out something that, you know, we don't believe that you care about us. Let us as a community help those people. You know, I'll house anybody that needs a place to stay. I'll take anybody to Kansas City that needs to make that interview. We need more people like Janet that are running classes to teach people how to become citizens. That's incredible. You know, I don't believe in white privilege. I know that as a Hispanic, as an American, that true privilege comes when your parents stick together and raise you at home. And I know that's hard. I know it's almost impossible to. We're at a point in our country where the divorce rate is 50%. You're truly blessed. You're truly almost privileged if you actually, you know, get to adulthood and your parents are still together. Persephone, you know, and it is incredible how those ladies, you know, address you. They're like, okay, so as to not offend you, what can we call you? You know, how should we address you? And that's wonderful. Janelle, I'm so sorry for, you know, all the hurtful things you have experienced as you've grown up. Tell us, tell our community, we've got your back. Do you know how you show those people? Do you know how you show them up that what they said isn't going to phase you? Become successful. As Persephone said, become a victor. You despite all that crap that those people threw at you because they thought it was going to bring you down, but they're going to be flipping your burgers, okay? And you're going to be running a business, and you're going to be successful, and you're going to be proud. You're going to say, I didn't let what they tried to throw at me stop. And that's the attitude we all got. And yeah, just to reiterate one more time, Derek, there's going to always be crappy people. Because we as a community, we can not cancel them, teach them, inform them. The people that were raised up with that sentiment, with that kind of ideology, is because they were shown to be that way. Nobody is born racist. They're shown and brought up with it. I grew up here in McKinley, and when my best friend, after he moved to Florida, we kept in touch on Facebook. He's like, he was surprised when I told him I wasn't Mexican. He said everybody that was Hispanic, they were Mexican. They called him, actually. And I think he was ignorant, he wasn't informed, he wasn't taught, and that's fine. I love, like many have said here, the diversity of our community. I moved back here. I'm 26, I have a career, a business, a family, and it's because I believed in the opportunities this place could afford me, and it has not let me down. So I'll do whatever I can to help anybody here achieve those same success. Do so, then we see that you're not really caring about us. Instead, Kathleen, absolutely, come up with something, a program. We can target out the people that you work with that need the help. I'm appalled to hear that there's a possibility of people working in restaurants that are not getting paid, or that we can prove that the rent rates are higher. That's stuff we can single out, and we as a community, we can make those changes. But as a community, I feel like that's the right way to approach it. I think I can, because I believe in this community. I'll be here until I retire. I hope to run my business even long after that. And I think as a community, we can continue to make this place an incredible place.
Garden and Dodge City have the same demographic as Liberal. So me and other people in the community can organize and do our part, but we're going to need your part. So if you guys can reach out to those communities on a city council level and see how they do things in their community, and if you can mirror that, and if we can work together, then we can accomplish and be effective and make effective change in our community on a local level.
Thank you. So we have a couple more. We're just about 8 o'clock, and I think we're gonna try to wrap it up by 9:08 just to be respectful of time. Of course, the conversation will continue afterwards if people want to hang out. But let's hear from a couple of folks in the back room.
They're we got a couple of days arm wrestle.
All right, here we go. Thank you.
I just want to say there is no shame in working in the service industry. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out to this forum. I appreciate everybody that's came out. I appreciate the commissioners listening. I know, thanks for bringing up this topic that needed to be discussed. I got questions from anonymous undocumented immigrants about our water department policies. I'll give you a scenario. Say I'm an undocumented. I come in because I'm ready for so and I'm trying to turn on my water. The only forms of identification that I have is my passport and my country, or the newly filed ITN number that I have. Is that enough to turn on the water? Or am I going to be turned on?
Well, I honestly don't know that. I will check that. Usually we need to lose the address and one ID. Go ahead.
Yeah. Jeanette said ITN number is a government form of communication here in the United States. As far as accepting passports, I'm assuming that's okay.
Get with me,
Yeah.
and we will see what our policy is, because that would, I can definitely change.
That's the only question I have for you that I got a text message.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Karen Gallo. I am the president of our LUAC Council here in Liberal. Hashtag 11801. So you guys are more than welcome to join us. Dr. T is one of our members. Unfortunately, he is leaving us. I just wanted to send up and let you know LUAC is available. We also have a state director, Madai, and I believe there's 5
Kansas organizations. We are the oldest Hispanic organization who advocates for this question. My voice shakes when I talk, but I learn a quote even if your voice shakes, speak it. So I do want to back up Enrique on that, and people from the community have came up to us and have it. So we just want to see if the commission could do something about that and help the community open the water bill without it being such a hassle, because it is a resource we need. Other than that, as SULAC, I don't believe we have anything else to speak on. Do we? I guess not. So that was just the main concern that we have. We will reach out to Kathleen and see how we can help her and get her in contact with other organizations throughout the state and with the state director. Thank you for having this.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and kind of pull all this together. I think, what is probably to me the most important outcome of this is that we had an opportunity to hear everyone's story, to hear everyone's perspective, and to, as we said early on, commit to helping change the community for the better. And I think at some level, everybody's story confirms we have an unbelievably beautiful and compassionate community. We have individuals in our community who are going to do, as we just heard so eloquently put, will do anything it takes to make sure that someone who may be stuck where certain things are getting in that individual's way, well, we are there to help. So as we've committed to make a change and to drive that change, but this is, and I was talking to Idaho about this, there's got to be more than a commitment. There's got to be a step. So one of the ideas is that the city of Liberal, at their next meeting, have a resolution to create some sort of system or process to be open to hearing what these concerns are. That's the challenge.
Make a challenge and run out of town. I couldn't help it.
If I'm not sure, I'll get a check on you now. So with that said, I do want to, in all seriousness, to thank all of you. I know some folks have to leave, we're going on 2 hours. But I think by going on 2 hours, there's probably easily another 2 hours we could go. Because there's a lot of work to be done. So empower one another, look out for one another, and remember that this is about creating a strong that runs very, very deep, and that's going to allow us to sustain and to bring to a close.
First of all, I'd like to say to the city mayor and to the commissioners that are here, thank you for allowing this forum to exist under the umbrella of the city. I think as the leaders of the community, it's important that folks see that our leadership